Going live. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another enchanting episode of the best darn show on the internet or anywhere. The Over Sharon Show.
In all
Welcome
of
back.
space and time.
In all of space and time, the inner space that we speak of that you can
Space.
prove, not the outer space that. Anyway, so welcome back, everybody, to another enchanting episode. We're going to cover a couple Dow verses today. I'm very excited about that to keep plugging along. Last week was a lot of fun. I mean, we went almost 2.5 hours with just one, but it was a really long,
It was
quote,
a
or
long
not quote.
verse.
I'm going to do a quote next. It was a really long verse. There you go. Thank you, Sharon. Great though. I mean, I re-listened to it and I'm like, damn, I'm funny. Damn, I'm hilarious. And Sharon is just so full of little tidbits and wisdom. It's so great. This show, I'm telling you, it really is the best darn show. I don't care what anybody says. All right.
Grazie.
Oh, quiet Sparky Bear. We're doing it live. What's up? I just saw him Saturday at his daughter's wedding. I DJ'd that. It was amazing. So much fun. Spoons, what's going on? What's up, Spoons? Welcome back. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. He looked great. And then we were gonna get a picture, and I totally forgot because I rechanged as I was breaking down. So
How
I didn't have
dare
my
you?
nice black shirt. And yeah, he was all dressed up though. It was fun though, a lot of fun. His family and his son-in-law's family are really amazing people. So that's I mean, he's somebody amazing like Chris, like QSB. You just imagine that his family's amazing, and I've been hiking before with his family, and his daughters are really cool. So I just knew she was gonna have an awesome husband. What a nice guy. So I had a great time. And before we go too crazy though, let me pull the quote. Let's do the quote. There it is. That's the share. Yeah, they changed everything. That's right. Haha. Thank you, Zoom. Here we go. Here is. And before I read it totally, I'm just going to do a little adjusting. There we go. Okay. So today's quote: through love, the devil becomes an angel. Through love, stones become soft as butter. Through love, grief is like delight. Through love, demons become the servants of God. And that is by Rumi. The reason I really like this quote is because we talk about these ideas of all the time, this idea of good and evil all the time, and redemption, and I always bring up the fact that Gollum is the hero in Lord of the Rings. Yeah, Frodo got the ring to the edge, but then he was going to keep it. So there's always this idea of redemption, and it goes so well with the Tao because the Tao is always talking about that. It's always talking about these cycles, and people will say, what about these murderers and these evil people? What do we do with them? Well, the Tao, Rumi, the Bible, God, all these religious texts basically tell you that it's up to God to decide what happens to these people. And we translate it really, or I translate it as it just means that everyone's on their own journey. And it doesn't mean that you have to agree with a war or a murderer or some terrible person or even have to help them or like it. What we say here is that you just look at it on the spiritual, with spiritual glasses. And this way you realize that it's all for a reason. You don't have to be a victim. And then, like we say in the physical, obviously, if you have to step in and protect yourself or help somebody or whatever, you just do it with compassion and you try not to hate spiral as you're doing that stuff. So, what do you
Yeah.
think of the quote,
So
Sharon? Go ahead.
what's funny is that okay, so yeah, through love the devil becomes an angel, through love stones become soft as butter, through love grief is like delight, demons through love demons become the servants of God. Yeah. It's like it's a cycle. We all like have to go through these cycles to come back. So and what brings us back is love. Um what's funny is you were talking about like what do we do with these evil people, and it's something I think about a lot because I get reminded by some people about, oh, look at all these evil people around. And I'm in my head I'm like, well, I can't do anything about that. Like it's not my personal problem. Like to each his own. Like every person has to deal with what they have to deal with. And, whatever that's going on is not harming me or touching me right now. So I don't have to quote deal with it. But if it did, then I'd figure it out at that moment. Like I'd have to decide what to do about it. And that would be what I do at that moment. I can't say, like,
Yeah, and
and
I get it too, though. There's a lot of stuff going on, and as you do self work and open your eyes to this, and you gain compassion, you might start to feel bad. I mean, there are a lot of terrible things. I have a whole blog. Guys, go check it out. Morelawsmoreproblems.com. I've been talking about the issues with laws in this world and war since 2013. So it's not like I'm not a stranger to this, and I don't try to. It's not like I haven't in the past tried to do something about it. But what I found really the best thing you can do is just work on yourself and not be a victim. And that you could, even those people in Afghanistan or wherever they are, or that little country that we, that never shall be named on a podcast, unless you're singing his praises. Even if you see the issues that are going there. Oh, what I meant was, I'm sorry, if you work on yourself, is it possible that he could even make it better over there? Maybe even a little bit. You never know. Who knows the way this works? We are all connected. Even air is a medium that connects all of
amen.
us. And if you think of the way electricity works, I mean, we're all there, boys, baby, boy. So,
Yeah. So, I think to myself all those thoughts, right? Well, yesterday or the day before, because I've been listening to and reading The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, which
oh,
or Gibran or however you pronounce it, which is really good. Um, I had never read it. I've heard its praises many, many times, but I just hadn't gotten around to reading it. And I finally listened to the full audiobook. It was like an older one from like the 1980s, I think. And then recently I just started listening to, like in the last day or two, I started listening to Bootsy Greenwood's version, which
oh,
he reads it too. Um, but there was this part that stuck out to me, and I think it was yesterday when I heard it. And it's they ask him to talk about good and evil, and he says, I would just want to read this little bit. Sorry, I had to clear my
no,
throat.
you're good.
And one of the elders of the city said, "Speak to us of good and evil." And he answered, "Of the good in you I can speak, but not of the evil. For what is evil but good, tortured by its own hunger and thirst?
Whoa.
Verily, when good is hungry, it seeks food, even in dark caves, and when it thirsts, it drinks even of dead waters. You are good when you are one with yourself. Yet when you are not one with yourself, you are not evil. For a divided house is not a den of thieves, it is only a divided house. And a ship without rudder may wander aimlessly among perilous isles, yet sink not to the bottom. You are good when you strive to give of yourself, yet you are not evil when you seek gain for yourself. For when you strive for gain, you are but a root that clings to the earth and sucks at her breast. Surely the fruit cannot say to the root, "Be like me, ripe and full and ever giving of your abundance." For to the fruit, giving is a need, as receiving is a need to the root. You are good when you are fully awake in your speech, yet you are not evil when you sleep, while your tongue staggers with purpose. And even stumbling speech may strengthen a weak tongue. Anyway, he goes on and on a little bit. I'll finish up because it's not long. You are good when you walk to your goal firmly and with bold steps. Yet you are not evil when you go thither limping. Even those who limp go not backward. But you who are strong and swift, see that you do not limp before the lame, deeming it kindness. You are good in countless ways, and you are not evil when you are not good. You are only loitering and sluggard. Pity that the stags cannot teach swiftness to the turtles. In your In your longing for your giant self lies your goodness, and that longing is in all of you. But in some of you, that longing is a torrent rushing with might to the sea, carrying the secrets of the hillsides and the songs of the forest. And in others, it is a flat stream that loses itself in angles and bends and lingers before it reaches the shore. But let not him who longs much say to him who longs little, wherefore are you slow and halting? For the truly good ask not the naked, where is your garment? Nor the houseless, what has befallen your house?
Wow. That is, maybe we could cover that because it's not that long, right?
No, it's not.
And
I
I
want to
have
do a little
one.
series on it.
Yeah, I'm down for that. Because because it's probably really not that known. It's really well unknown. It's not that well known. That's what I was trying to say. But I did get a copy of it at Barnes and Noble up near the front where they have, they do like the little Barnes and Noble book deals or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
I have it in the car. It's like a skinny. I probably showed you
Mm-hmm.
before. It's really nice. It's probably like this big, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
skinny and
Yeah, it's not a very long book.
I really like what he said though about all that stuff. I mean, geez, yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's true
really
though.
good.
It's
I
like,
was like very pleasantly surprised as I was reading through or listening to it as well.
yeah,
So
awesome.
anyway,
You want to pull a card
I will.
from your which
My
deck?
new Golden
Yeah,
Art Nouveau
there you go.
tarot, which here's the box.
So cool.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I was distracted reading that. But let's see what
No,
we
you're good. Don't worry about it. It was so worth it because it was so much wisdom. Really too while you
I
shuffle. Go
I
ahead.
think we're still on
There you go.
not gallery mode. I forgot what that's
Oh,
called.
I put it. Yeah, I put it to you because I thought you were gonna pull the card, but I put it back to us. So
Go
I'll
ahead.
wait till you pull it. While you shuffle, I'll just say I like because it's really about not judging. There's so much in there, but toward the end, he was talking about the houseless and all that. And
Yeah.
the turtle. Oh, that's what I want to see. You can't teach
Yes.
swiftness to a turtle,
Yeah.
and that it reminds me of the turtle and the hare. That story, and that's really starting to feel I'm really starting to feel that in my life. And it helps me so much because I realize it life really isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. And these things you talk about, like you talk like wanting to translate the Tao and doing that stuff, you really embody the tortoise with that. And that's how great works are made because you have your lifetime to make it, right? And then other people after you can use it. I mean, obviously it's really good if you get it done and enjoy the fruits while you're still here. That's nice too, but there really is no rush to these things. Sometimes, like my book, for example, I couldn't finish the first one until I had some life experiences. And I mean, I'm having a ton of life experiences now that are going to help me with the next one. So exciting.
Yeah. So, um,
So, speaking of
what
that,
I was gonna say that you said the turtle and the hare, and I was also thinking of like babies, like as an adult, like because we talk about like spiritual childhood. Like, what if these people who are, let's say, the people that shall not be spoken of, um, the evil people, right? What if they're just spiritual children, like for a very, very, very long time, like in coming back to the realm, they just don't mature, but whatever, like like they're a baby, let's just say. And can you, if the baby is like 3 months old, can you teach the baby to walk yet? I don't think so. Baby's not going to walk till it's close to a year old. So like you can't, it's just like not possible. It's just doesn't have the cognition and the motor skills, and it's not ready to do that. So it's kind of like that hare and the stag. Like you can't, sorry, the turtle and the stag can't teach the turtle to go faster or to run or to sprint or whatever. So that's what it made me
the
think
only
of.
thing the stag can do is be the best stag. And with that example, it could inspire the turtle to be the best turtle or tortoise to be the best tortoise. I was going to say turtle. The turtle.
Portal.
We should start saying turtle. What's that? I don't know if it's a tortoise or a turtle, so I'm just gonna
Mm,
say, or I don't know if it's a tortoise or a turtle, so I'm gonna call it a
mm,
turtle. Poidle. You can say that too. Yeah, but
Oil.
yeah, that's so much great wisdom in there. I mean, it's ooh, is that the
The moon.
moon?
The moon.
Here comes the moon. All right, let
Do
me get
do
this
do do.
menu. Oh, great card. You have the two towers there. You
You're
have the
you're still talking, so like it's not gonna show the card. You want gallery mode?
oh, I have you pinned though. So
Yeah, but if I'm not talking,
oh, even if you're pinned,
no, what I'm saying is like I'm showing the card while you are talking about it. No one can see it. Go ahead, talk about it.
there we go. I'll put it back to gallery.
Yeah,
Sorry about that. Because
that's fine.
for me, when I'm running it, if I have you pinned, it leaves you there, even when I'm talking.
No,
So
not it does not happen
for the recording, oh, okay, all right.
on the
Well,
real
so we
deal.
got the two towers, we got the two wolves, or you can even say a dog and a wolf, depending on how you're looking at this. The moon's right in the middle. There's a lot of balance here that I see in the moon card. You know, the moon is really about looking inside, looking deep within, taking the focus outward, like we used in that quote a couple weeks ago with the 180-degree turn of meditation and looking within. It's so important. It really is. It's like a whole other step to life when you could realize that you have control of this crazy brain of ours that can usually cause all this anxiety and just like make you go nuts. But if you train your brain, then you don't have to do that. And the moon doesn't have to be scary, and you don't have to be afraid of the dark.
You can also see the shape, the full moon, and also like the waning or waxing version of it
Yeah, yeah,
in
I like how they
both.
do that because they kind of symbolize how the moon's energy. You know, you see the different stages and it's different symbolism. Like the full moon is different than a crescent, but also this symbol lets you know that the crescent is contained in the full moon too. So all that energy is there to use. It's just that sometimes the full moon overpowers that little crescent. But it's all about like focus and attention and where you put it and stuff like that. So
The half
great card
moon's
though.
there too.
Yeah. 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 All the phases are contained in the full moon.
There you
It's
go.
important to know.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, today we're going to start with verse 65 of the Tao. And I guess we can look in the chat real quick, see what's going on. Nothing too much.
Spoons asked you a question.
I am not currently working on my book, but I'm feeling the creative dam about to break. I've been doing like a lot of drawing and stuff. So uh I should
Something's in the
hopefully,
works.
yeah, because I will have some time and it really shouldn't take me too long. And I do want to get artistic with some projects I have coming up. I just don't want to talk about it too much. So just in the works,
Creativity.
everybody. Yeah. But thank you for asking. I appreciate it. That's Elizabeth was asking me to because she read what I had so far a couple years ago. And she's like, yo, this is great. Yo, B. All right.
Cuban bee.
Cuban B, and she has a alter ego now because we went to Thanksgiving and my brother went to his house and he had a hat that said "fuck him" on it, like a big baseball cap, and you know like the allegedly hat, but it just said "fuck him." And I guess he saw her looking at it and then he put it away, but she was like, "Oh, I like it." So I texted him a couple days later. I'm like, "Where'd you get that?" So she got one now, and she's like, "All right, I'm gonna wear this one. I don't feel like dealing with people." And she's like, "My alter ego would be E." I'm like, "All right." Or maybe
I
I
already
came up
call
with
her
that.
E.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's easy.
It's the entering of breaking and entering, right, Spoons?
Yeah, exactly. Beanie. I break and she enters. Just kidding, cops. All right, so we're gonna dive into the Tao. It's verse 65, which I love already. The numerology, the 11, the
Mm.
2, even the 1, 1, and the 2. All right. So if you're new, we're gonna read through each version. We have 4 different versions of each verse. We read through and then we go back and break it down So I'm going to read Stephen Mitchell's version from 1988. The ancient masters didn't try to educate the people, but kindly taught them to not know. When they think they know the answers, people are difficult to guide. When they know that they don't know, people can find their own way. Let me just do one really quick thing. There we go. I'll also highlight, if you want to learn how to govern, avoid being clever or rich. The simplest pattern is the clearest. Context, context with an ordinary life. You can show, content. Sorry, content with an ordinary life. You could show all people the way back to their own true nature. All right.
Love it. Dwight Goddard, The Day of Simplicity. In the olden days, those who obeyed the spirit of Tao did not enlighten the people, but kept them simple hearted. The reason people are difficult to govern is because of their smartness. Likewise, to govern a people with guile is a curse, and to govern them with simplicity is a blessing. He who remembers these two things is a model ruler. Always to follow this standard and rule is Day, the profound. Profound Day is deep indeed and far reaching, the very opposite of common things. But by it, one obtains obedient subjects.
Ooh, interesting. Stan Rosenthal from 1984 entitles this Virtuous Government. Knowing it is against the Tao to try to enforce learning, the early sages
Knowing it is against.
knowing it is against the Tao to try to enforce learning, the early sages did not contrive to teach the way of the Tao. There are two ways of government. One is to be cunning, to act with guile, and to contrive to cheat the people. When this way is used to rule, the people grow in cunning and contrive to cheat the ruler. The second way to govern the land is to do so without contriving. People so governed are truly blessed, for they are governed with virtue, and virtuous government is fair to all, thus leading to unity. Oh, I didn't highlight it. This is the one, everybody, though.
Okay.
We're going to read this one now. I'll just highlight the.
Aleister Crowley, The Purity of the Day. They of old time that were skilled in the Tao sought not to enlighten the people, but to keep them simple. The difficulty of government is the vain knowledge of the people. To use cleverness in government is to scourge the kingdom. To use simplicity is to anoint it. Know these things, and make them thy law and thine example. To possess this law is the secret perfection of a rule. Profound and extended is this perfection. He that possesseth it is indeed contrary to the rest, but he attracteth them to full accordance.
Sharoneth, what if iseth wrong with youeth? You cannot have if. I'm just kidding. In
I
the
will
first
read
part,
it like a normal modern English next time.
and the funny thing is the Stan Rosenthal one, the first part, that's how it sounded when I read it, but I'm like, I must have mumbled it. Like, because you corrected it. I'm like, but I was like, oh, I like thought back to what I said. I'm like, oh yeah, I like mumbled the shit out of that. Because
No, it's
I'm
fine.
like,
You missed one of the words and it's easy to do.
I think I was like, it is, or I don't know. Whatever. It's right. Anyway, so this verse is about government, but I'm gonna say this from the start that anyone that watches this show probably isn't going to be involved in government, right? Hey, maybe we will be involved in local, whatever. Who knows? Maybe something will happen and we'll all be fucking running the show, right? Like
More laws,
we're
more
going to be the warlords.
problems.com.
Yeah.
I think Brandon's going to put that down and
More laws. Yeah. But the way we could use this, so because you could say, hey, Sharon and Brandon, why is this applicable to me? I'm not going to be ruling a country, but you do rule a country every day. You could look at yourself as a country, your left and your right sides, right? A country has left and right, like we have Democrats and Republicans or whatever people, well, same thing, guys. You are a left and right inside too, and a center and all that, right? But if there's turmoil, you're going to look like what's going on outside. But if you get it all corrected or balanced or whatever, correct, or this if you just learn to see that you're perfect and all your foibles and flaws aren't foibles and flaws, the bad things that you hate that you do enable you to also do these great things, right? Like you have to have this balance, and it doesn't mean that you have to keep doing bad things. Like I feel as you accept it and you look in and do self work, you want to do these quote unquote bad things less or whatever. But that's really anyway what the verse I think is talking about in how it could be applicable to every, everybody. It's just that internal balance that you want to achieve. And like I said earlier, um, if you do that, then it does help to achieve the balance in the outer world. Like maybe you working on yourself will help that little small country that will not be named in a derogatory sense, unless we don't want to get kicked off YouTube. Who knows? Have some
A
compassion.
joke, YouTube. It's a joke.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, though, even people that are in power that we hate, like the reason they're there, they're just scapegoats. Like they probably don't have great lives. They probably freaking hate themselves. That's why they are able to be used to capacity to run a whole country and do horrible, terrible things. Like have some compassion for them, and love your enemy. And what are they going to do? But I just wanted to say that before we get out into the breakdown, because I feel like this is a common theme that comes up in the Tao a lot. They talk about government and how to govern people. And, we've mentioned this before, but in case you're new.
Yeah. And I also thought of like people who have children,
Oh, yeah.
you're
There you
like a,
go.
you're like the king of your house or whatever, or the queen of your house.
Exactly
And
right, Sharon.
so
So if you want to
you
govern
could
with an iron
apply it that
fist,
way as well.
it's about a balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're going to go break these things on down.
Work it on down. You want to read the first two pieces together and the last piece separately?
Yeah, we could do that. The Ancient Masters. So we're going to break down the Steve Mitchell version first from 1988. The Ancient Masters didn't try to educate the people, but kindly taught them not to know. And another shout out to Bootsy, because didn't he read this version also? He has a version of it.
Taught them to not know. Yes, Steve. He read the Stephen Mitchell
Yeah,
version.
sorry, guys. I'll read that again. The Ancient Masters didn't try to educate the people, but kindly taught them to not know. And this is a concept we talk about all the time, right? The smartest person is one that knows, the truly wise is the one that knows he knows nothing, kind of thing. And here, in the context of a leader or a parent or even inner work, it's to realize that you don't know and stop making claims about things that you're not exactly sure about, especially like Santa Claus. Like, come on. Anyway.
Have you seen that Instagram that talks about Coca-Cola and that's how Santa, like the adverts for drinking Coca-Cola in the winter because of the trends? Have you seen that Instagram post?
No, but it doesn't surprise me. I haven't. I just see the icon of Instagram on
That
my phone. That's about.
that's how Santa Claus became Santa Claus was the
Uh,
Coca-Cola adverts.
yeah, it makes
Because
sense.
the
Most of these things are.
drinking Coke was only like popular in the summer, so they wanted people to drink it in the wintertime too.
How do we get these people to drink cold corn juice? Well, probably wasn't made out of corn back then. Cold cocaine juice in the winter. How do we get them?
Coca tea from the coca tea leaf.
Great idea. And you should know because you have some Colombian heritage. So
I did drink some in Colombia when we were there, like in 2013. I was there.
I mean, I'm sure it's great. It's probably good for you. That's everything that gets
I
deemed
don't remember
medicine.
what it tastes like. It's probably like tastes like a green sort of kind of greenish type of tea, any type of infusion. But yeah,
Amazing.
anyway, off topic. Good.
Anyway,
Go on.
all right. So let's get back to the no, anytime we want to talk about coca. I mean, I've actually never done cocaine, which is kind of crazy. My heart might explode because I'm already pretty hyper, but
Yeah, I've never
just
either. I don't know that I
saying.
ever want to.
I've been
But
around it a lunch, so don't worry.
no desire.
It's you're not missing anything. Unless you want to
Yeah.
start a business with somebody, then you're
Oh my God.
at 3 a.m. All right, or a podcast. That's probably what people. Anyway, when they think that they don't know the answers, people
That
are
they
different.
know.
So yeah, see, that's why I have Sharon because she knows. When they think that they know the answers, people are difficult to guide, and it's so true.
Yeah. Mm,
It's what we talked about. Certainty is the road to ruin, right? That's all you got to say. When they know that they don't know, people can find their own
there
way.
you go.
There you
Isn't
go.
that great?
It really is. And if you put it in the context of parenting, I mean, you could always look at it as it's like you're kind of guiding instead of forcing, right? And it's just a balance, really.
Are you a little bit away from
Is that
the
better? Oh yeah, I
yeah,
moved it a little. My bad. How's that?
better, I think.
Yeah. So pretty self-explanatory, I think, especially these with all the stuff we've covered.
I guess you can, if you want, you can keep going.
Yeah, I might as well, right?
Yeah,
Because it
just do
goes
it.
together. If
Yeah.
you want to learn how to govern, avoid being clever or rich. So it's really about, and we'll see this in the other verses that we read. We've already read them, but it's like when they say being clever, it's like about you don't have to try, you don't have to contrive or scheme or plot or make all these plans. You just kind of go with the flow. And being rich is just an imbalance I see. And I'm not telling, I'm not saying being rich overall in life, if you want to have money and be wealthy, that's great. I'm not saying that's an imbalance, but as a leader, I think because if you're rich, then the people under you might, have not what they need. They might have less. It's like an imbalance, right?
Yeah, it makes me think of like monks and gurus and stuff like in India or Tibet or whatever.
Or even Jesus, right? Give up your riches
Yeah.
and follow me. And you can even look at
Well,
riches as
Jesus,
like,
it says he didn't have a place to put his head
yeah,
to
exactly.
sleep. He was, for all intents and purposes, homeless. He didn't even have a place to be buried. Somebody had to, a rich man had to give him a place to be buried. Right. Allegedly, if the story is true, but that's just the legend,
And
the
the other side of that
lore.
is Jesus needed a rich man to give him a thing. So that's why, like, you don't have to have all this judgment with people, money or rich or whatever, or poor, because there's a place for everybody, right? And we're
Right.
talking now mostly on the
Exactly.
spiritual. So kind of right now, well, we're talking more about the physical, but to bring it to the spiritual, I really think it's about attachments when they talk about
Mhm.
riches, right? Think about
Absolutely.
the way you're attached, or you might be hoarding things. And even
Hmm.
if you're not physically hoarding them, you could be hoarding them in your mind spiritually,
Yeah.
thinking about all the time. If you have a certain trinket or pretty or whatever it is, and your mind's on it all the time, it takes you out of the present moment. So as a parent or a leader, or even as a person, it's going to lead to like turmoil and anxiety.
Yes.
All right, we're
Been
killing
trying to declutter a little bit. It's
it.
not a lot, but
Yeah.
I did remember I told you I bought some sweaters. This is one of the sweaters I bought.
Oh,
Um, yeah.
nice.
Um, and I've it's been a couple of days of me buying random stuff too. But so I bought a couple of like they're kind of like fanny pack bags type things.
Hmm.
And I've been way more into those lately because they're very minimalist. I used to be a big bag person. Like I'd have this big, heavy, giant bag that had like everything in it, right? And then I just started getting into the fanny pack thing after Cody bought some for himself. And then I used one of them. And then I was like, ooh, I also have this old fanny pack that I never used. And anyway, I bought a couple more that I saw at the store. They were genuine leather. And I'm like, okay, these are nice. And they were at a good price. And so I got home yesterday and I was like, look at all these big bags that I don't use anymore. And I like gathered up like 4 bags and I'm like, okay, these are going into the donation pile.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. Did Cody get his fanny pack from Joe Rogan? Haha, just kidding. Cody, I love you. You're the best.
No,
And
he got them
fanny
from
packs are cool.
these.
I don't really, whatever.
Well,
I just wanted to pick on
he
him a little. I
usually
mean, I would
wears
wear
them
them.
across like a
Um,
bag like
I
this
have
across.
one like that. It's not in here, but it's not a fanny pack, but it's
I
a
just
bag.
call it that, but I don't. What else do you call these things?
Oh yeah, I have one. It's like well, Elizabeth's
Sling bag.
was calling it a gurse because it's possible that you could keep a gun in there, so it's like
Oh,
a gun
yeah.
purse.
That's exactly why he got them. That's the exact purpose. I never heard them called a gurse. That's freaking hilarious.
Well,
I
I
was
think
thinking
she made that
guy
up.
purse, but no, it's a gun purse.
Yeah, that's what you could call it to other people. Yeah, it's a gurse, it's a guy purse, but then for people who know, and she's like, we should make, I'm like, yeah, like we were just like idea factories over here. We need some finishers. We're the finishers. Sharon, let's make a hemp curse. That'd be so funny. It looks all like hippie, and then you
Yeah,
open and it's like
that's
business.
you're like heathen, not hippie.
It's like, hang on, I got something here that's we picked these up at the we picked these up at the place where we get our records. Uh I think they were like $10, but you put tarot in them, but make them like this, all.
Oh,
And then it's just like, oh, look at this guy with a flower and
and a sugar skull.
yeah. So yeah.
Oh my god.
Um
So yeah,
That's good.
and
Decluttering. That's what it's all about. And it's
manifest
a slow
versus
process. It's
decluttering.
like we talk about with healing. You see somebody like Ram Dass or like Maharaj or whatever, you want to be enlightened, you want to be all these things, but it's a journey. And if you are going to get to where you want to be, just remember you have to be where you are now. It's like
Baby
driving to Myrtle
steps.
Beach. We're in Connecticut. We want to drive to Myrtle Beach. You got to go through Delaware. Like, why am I in
Oh,
Delaware?
oh, that freaking, it takes freaking forever to get through there. It's a
Yeah.
pain in the freaking
It's
arse.
so small too. But just kidding, Delaware. We love you. Yeah, same thing with decluttering. So, but I did have
Yeah.
something. I'm gonna pop this back up too because I'm gonna share. Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. The word rich is clever, rich desire. So the simplest pattern is the clearest, right? It's about it, you don't gotta make it complicated, right? You just go with the flow. Content with an ordinary life, you can show all people the way back to their own true nature. And that really is about an example. If you're content and you're
Yeah.
not a victim, and I noticed this because of my own life. People it rubs off on everybody around me. And I'm not saying it's like, oh, it's because I'm this great person, right? I'm killing it. But what I mean is, um, I'm trying to think of different
It rubs
examples.
off on other people. What were you
Yeah,
gonna say?
it just rubs off on it because they see you being that way and they're like, oh, cool. Because a lot of interactions, a lot of people are just steeped in materialism. So it's natural in this environment to want to only think about yourself and like how you're going to get up on people. But when people see you not doing that, it inspires them. I think so. It's just about being an example.
Absolutely.
All
Jesus was an
right.
example and he said, "Follow me." And then we're supposed to also live our lives as an example
Yes. Yes.
whenever,
Yes.
however possible. Right.
Yeah, the best you can. All right. You want
Dwight
to read
Goddard,
it?
The Day of Simplicity. In the olden days, those who obeyed the spirit of Tao did not enlighten the people, but kept them simple hearted. And Stephen Mitchell says, taught them to not know. Well, Dwight says simple hearted. And I don't know that there's any further explanation for that.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it looks good. All
Like
right.
those who know don't speak,
Yeah, exactly.
basically.
Yeah, just you don't have to be an enlightened being. You just be the best version of you that you can be. And by doing that, you might become enlightened. Oh, it's so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever that means, right? Enlightened, whatever that means to you.
Yeah. The reason people are difficult to govern is because of their smartness.
Yeah. Just like in the last verse, because
Yeah.
they think they know.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Likewise, to govern a people with guile, that's the cunning part, right? To be like, oh, I'm gonna try to do this. Um, that's a curse, it says. Likewise, to govern a people with guile is a curse. So if you have this like idea, right, of how you're going to tell people how to live their lives and how to be, you're the guru or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And to govern them with simplicity is a blessing. It is
Or yeah, or if you're gonna use guile and try to trick them, people know that, when you're it's so funny sometimes when
intuitively.
if you go like I'll go somewhere where there's like a salesperson or whatever. And I sold cars for like 8 years. I did like everything in the car business. So I know all about sale. I'm not saying because of that I'm like a great, whatever. Anyway, but I can see I know what they're doing, right? So I'll go somewhere and I'm just like, I know what they're doing, but it's funny when they think they're slick about it. And it's the same way with like anything, like with parents, they try to do things with their kids. I remember um were there it's like the Santa Claus thing, right? There you go. You try to get your kids to behave by telling them that there's an elf on a shelf that's so creepy that's watching them, and then there's this old man that has their name on a list, and he's gonna come into their house and
Creepy.
so but with that, you could do that. And I understand sometimes
I
you
mean,
get
it's
wrapped up
like,
in
I
the
guess it's kind of like saying there's a God in the sky that looks down on you and is like, you know what I mean?
yeah. Yes, exactly. And it's funny because that whole concept comes from us feeling insignificant because there has to be a God to judge us. Well, what's wrong with our own intuition and our own sense of right and wrong? Why can't that judge us? And why can't we not want to lie because we're afraid of our own judgment in a way? We want to become better people, not because we're afraid of getting going to hell and out of fear. No, because we don't want to disappoint ourselves in that way, right? It's like our higher self. That's why I think that
Yeah.
concept is really cool because you could look to it that way. But whatever works for anybody. But really, like the point of this is, this whole verse though is you don't have to scheme and plot. And one side is, it turns people off. They could probably tell when you're not being true,
Honest. Yeah.
right? All right.
He who remembers these two things is a model ruler. Always to follow the standard and rule is day, the profound. Day is like virtue, but I was doing some homework on reading up on like what day means and what Tao means and all that stuff because of, you know, I'm trying to do the translation type stuff. And I haven't really gotten super back into it again, but there was another thing that they meant, and I think it meant kind of like the manifestation of the Tao. That was another way to translate it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
It's like the Tao is the concept, and the day is what you can point to in action, like what everyday life is
Oh,
the day.
yeah. Yeah, good
And
call.
it is the virtue in the same way, right? Because the
Yeah.
virtue is what you can point to. The Tao
Yeah.
is more of like an abstract kind of like,
Right.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So
cool.
there you go. That's the manifestation of it.
I love it.
Profound day is deep indeed and far reaching, the very opposite of common things, but by it one obtains obedient subjects.
Profound day is deep indeed and far reaching, the very opposite of common things, but by it pains obedient subjects. And you could look at this if we're talking about the whole inner work. So this way you have the inner control. You have obedient subjects, your left and right sides. The energy, however you want to look at it, is in balance. And then also when that happens externally and you're a good leader, you are going to have people that come and help you and follow. I mean, look at this show. We have people that help us out all the time, people that hang out in our chat and we're friends with, and we hang out in real life with sometimes. It's the same kind of thing. You start to gather people around you when you have a message that resonates, a true message.
Yeah, and it's apparently not common.
Yeah, it's like the hard way, what we were talking about, right? The I'm trying to think of, maybe it was last week in the if I think about it, if it comes up, I'll mention it. But yeah,
I've
it's the road less traveled, I guess you could say.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. The road less traveled. I just had a random thought, and maybe did we talk about this before? Did I ask like when do you think this like the Tao was written in the sense of like you have the cycles of time, like the Kali Yuga is the like the worst one. I don't know what the other ones are called, the other
Oh, I see what
yugas,
you're saying. Like, in what
but
kind of
like
age you think it was written?
yeah, would
Probably I think spiritual texts. Well, spiritual texts are for dark ages because just like it says in the Bhagavad
right,
Gita, you
right?
know,
I mean, why else would you need one?
yeah. so maybe on the eve of a dark age or falling into a dark age, the people
Yeah.
that were still in the higher age or whatever, they're the ones who write it, and maybe they just are even preserved through these other golden ages, maybe even preserved by story, who knows. But this Tao, I mean, they say it was written by Lao Tzu in China, but who knows? He could have came across something
Could
and
have
just been
channeled it.
translating something else, like.
Yeah.
And these concepts really are found everywhere. You're reading the prophet, we read from the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, all these ideas. There's like a core idea. Basically, it's telling you not to be a victim and we're all one and trust the plan, like these concepts that come through when you distill it down. So yeah, but I like that, to think about it that way. Like you said, you're right. That's a good point. It probably was, or it's for these times, or was written.
Yeah. Just makes me
Yeah.
wonder, when all these texts were written.
And if you think
Just
it could be contained in the Tao, because it talks about how, like, in the Tao, there's the one verse that I'm trying to think about. Oh, like goodness and piety. It talked about, like, when you have to teach, like, usually it basically, the verse is saying, like, you shouldn't have to teach goodness, like you shouldn't have to teach anything, but then when the world descends, then goodness comes around. So maybe as the golden age starts to descend or whatever, that's when the people start to write it down to remember it, and then in this dark age, it's like, all we have to cling to.
okay. Could be. Just an
Something like that.
interesting thought loop,
Yeah. All
thought
right.
experiment.
Okay, Stan Rosenthal from 1984, Virtuous Government. Knowing it is against the Tao to try to enforce learning, the early sages did not contrive to teach the way of the Tao. So it's the same thing, right? They probably just were an example. They didn't have to be a teacher.
Right. Forcing something, right?
Yeah.
Forcing something sent down someone's throat. Like,
Like
you
church,
must. Yeah, exactly.
right? Like
Yeah.
as a kid getting forced to go to church and then having
Mm-hmm.
to, yeah.
Yep. Yep. Same.
And, the balance of that, why do you think it's like that? Well, look at how crazy things are in the physical, in the world. It's so debaucherous and crazy that people feel they have to drag their kids somewhere, or
Pendulum.
yes, they have to uh show them the good, right? There
Yeah.
needs to be a place to bring them where it's all good, because it's all crazy out there, right? It's
Yeah.
this, the white not accepting the black. Really think that's what this physical experience is. It's just the polar, because maybe as energy we're just gray, and then it's like we pull it out and we have polarity now, right?
Yes. It's a pendulum. The swing. Like, oh, this is way too dark. Let's just do the complete absolute opposite of that.
And then you see it so much in pop culture, Star Wars. You have the Sith and the Jedi. The Jedi are these, they can't even marry because they can't have any attachments at all, right? And the Sith are just attached to everything. They want to run it all, and they both fuck it up. They have to fight each other, right? Hmm.
Right.
How does balance come to the Force? Well, we get rid of the Sith and the Jedi, and you just have, I don't know, but it's all perfect.
People.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. People who are gonna fuck up and do great things. All right.
Quote, freedom from government. Just kidding. Did I
Mm-hmm.
say that? Just kidding. It's a joke.
Mind, what is it? Mind control. It's like government is slavery. There are two ways of slavery. I mean, sorry, government. One is to be cunning, to act with guile, and to contrive to cheat the people. When this way is used to rule, the people grow in cunning and contrive to cheat the ruler. So it's like monkey see, monkey do. You can't be a parent or a ruler, or an ego that thinks it could get away with some things on the side that no one's going to know about, but then also want to be this light person, right? It's a duality. There's this, it's like a back and forth. It's like, schizophrenia. Sometimes it manifests in people when it gets too crazy. Cognitive dissonance is like the first beginning of that, right? And
Dissonance with an N.
cognitive dissonance.
Sorry.
There, thank you, Sharon. You make me sound more
I
intelligent.
sometimes hear people say dissidents with a D.
Yeah, dissonance,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, cognitive dissonance. There we go. Slick dissonance. There we go. We got a new. All right. But let's see. What was I thinking? I'll bring it back because I might have one more thing to say. But yeah, it's just monkey see, monkey do. And like the second way is to govern the land, is to do so without contriving, right? So then when you're not doing it, then the people mirror it. And the rest of the verse happens. People so governed are truly blessed, for they are governed with virtue. And virtuous government is fair to all, thus leading to unity. And think about it as a parent, or even in the lens of working on yourself. You don't hate certain aspects of yourself and love other aspects. Like I don't love that I'm tall and I have this amazing voice and hair, but then hate that I sometimes slouch so my back hurts, so that's a shitty part of me or whatever it is, desires that I have. I don't hate those and then love the good things about me. I just realize that it's all perfect, right? And I'm preaching to the choir. This isn't like an every moment thing. I'm not walking around like I just love every aspect of myself, you know. We're just singing to the preacher over here, guys. So but I think that's what they're pointing to. That's the way, is to just accept it all.
I have a thought experiment, another thought experiment for
Yeah.
you. So you know how we have this slavery, just kidding, government going on right now, right? And but
Well, you could
there's
say a
this like
mind control slavery, but
thank you, this mind control that's going on. Gubernare.
shout out to Mark Passio.
Yeah, every time we say that.
What a great guy.
So we have this gubernare going on, this uh mind control. And there is this like facade of, but we are being fair to everybody. You know what I mean? Like the everything that's going on. You know what I mean? I don't know that I have to say everything that's going on, but
Like with the
you
election.
know, I suppose I'm thinking more like people that want to be accepted for who they are, but they
Gotcha. Okay.
preach to, like they shove it down other people's throats
Oh yeah, yeah.
instead of just being like
Mhm.
nobody is telling them what to do, or like you don't have to tell me everything about yourself in granular detail, and I don't have to
It's
know
kind of like
who
the
you're
thing my
sleeping
friend
with or
comedian
anything.
my comedian friend Pat Oates is like, I don't care who you fuck. He's like, we just can be friends. He's like, it doesn't, you don't have to like,
Yeah.
okay, I hear you now.
So I guess my question is I mean, is the Tao still working in that way, or is it twisted, or
In
is it
the,
really being fair to all, or is it just like
oh,
is it a facade of being fair to all?
oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
I mean, yes, in the grand scheme of things, yes, but like is it because the government is acting with guile to be cunning and to contrive to cheat the people? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I think that's what's going on. I think the government is just people are following the example of the government, right? And it causes little like pockets or whatever, and this huge division. And it really is. And I think that if we did have some kind of government that was more, and and I'm not trying to advocate for this because it's another thing you'd have to force somehow, and you'd always have people that were screwed up, right? That's why I think that the only change could be done from the bottom up. And when I say the bottom up, I mean like
Self work on yourself.
you, like not you, Sharon, but exactly, right?
Every time you do this, how many are pointing back? Three,
Yeah,
at
exactly.
least.
Yeah. And So yeah, in that way, I think you could see how the Tao is at work, and because it's neutral, right? It's just showing you this is a great example that if you contrive and you have this show on TV all the time about what the government is, right? And then you're doing things behind back and you're lying all these lies and stuff. It's going to manifest in the people, and then you're going to see that in society. And I'm not saying everybody's terrible or whatever, but it really, when at its essence, it's just a materialistic mindset. It's a mindset of scarcity, right? It's because if we lived in a physical realm where this was really plastic and metal and it wasn't energy, then there might be scarcity. But because it's all energy and you could attract things to you or repel things and create and manifest in different ways, if you have that as a base mindset, then you see what we're talking about. You see how it's all, because you could just create a bubble of like abundance around you or whatever. And you don't have to worry about what's going on in the world.
Yeah. That's
So
why I don't. I really, really try
yeah,
not to even know what's going on, but I
and it
get
seems like
news
you're
from other
heartless,
people.
and that's the thing. But when I break it down, it's like you could say, what about starving people and other? We'll just use that as an example. Well, if I was to feel bad for them, how dare me? Because that, if you look at it on a certain level, that's
You're not
their
trusting God,
experience to go through. Yeah, that's their
your
hurdle to
karma.
climb. That's their
Mhm.
work. Now you could take it to the extreme and you could say that's everyone's work and you don't have to help anyone and you could just sit home, But that's why it's so nuanced. It really is though just about how you feel inside. Are you a victim? If you feel compelled to go out and help people in your neighborhood and that's what makes
Absolutely.
you feel good, go do it. We're not telling you
Hmm.
not to. Or if you feel compelled to go fly to that country we're talking about
Yeah.
and stand in a human chain and stop the gross stuff that's going on and report about it, then if that's what you feel called to do, then go do it, like
Yeah.
um but we're talking about the victim narrative really is what it is inside. Do you feel like a victim because of what's going on? No
Hmm.
matter who is like in charge of the country, we're getting screwed over. So
Hmm.
you could be a victim either way, or you could be a victor, because really this part of the realm, this part of the world, this part of the mystery realm in this country, there are a lot of opportunities for people, and you could have a great life. You could carve out a great life for yourself here without too much oppression from the government. Think about like the Soviet Union and how insane that must have been to live under those people. So it really is about gratitude, I think. Anyway,
Yeah.
what's going on in the chat, by the way? Is there anybody? Oh,
Kathleen
Kathleen.
showed
What's
up.
up, Kathleen? I'm going to see her later. It's one of Elizabeth's friends. Cool. Awesome. Balak on the shelf instead of elf on the shelf. Yeah.
That's an inside thing.
This is why you shouldn't point. You should point with a whole hand. Yeah, you. Or like in
You,
They Live when they're
you.
like, or what was that movie? We're like, when they see someone who's like evil or whatever. Or I mean, not evil. Anyway, um, I love this Tao. It's so great. It really lets us express how we feel, but we're using the Tao. We're like, it's just the Tao. We're not making claims.
I know.
All right.
Aleister Crowley,
Aleister Crowley, the
the
purity.
purity of the day. And we could think of the day as virtue or manifestation of the Tao.
Yeah.
Um, so the purity of that. They of old time who were skilled in the Tao sought not to enlighten the people, but to keep them simple. Because if I'm just thinking, if you sit there and you try to enlighten them, just like, okay, forcing somebody to go to church when it's like we talked about earlier, forcing people to go to church or telling them that they're wrong or they're bad if they don't or whatever. That I don't know that that's necessarily helpful, right? Maybe it accelerates the process of their awakening, but maybe it doesn't. But if you just leave people be, like, trust God, trust the plan that they will find their way, like, and And that's the simplest way. You just trust God, right? Let
Yeah.
it be, let it be, let it
Let it
be,
be,
let it
let it
be.
be.
Whisper words of
Words of
wisdom,
wisdom, let
let it
it be.
be.
And if you really want kids to go to church, you tell them it's only for adults and they can't go.
And they'll love to go.
And they'll beg you. And you're like, all right, fine. They'll let you go this one time. Yeah, because forcing people to do things is like it's the opposite. So what happened to me, I just threw it all away after I was like, this has to all be a lie. And yeah.
Mhm.
So I had to come back in my own way.
Yeah,
And
to
the
see it
simplicity
in a
thing,
different light. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I'll bring this back up, but the simplicity thing is great because it is so true. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid.
Stupid
Because when you
kiss.
complicate things, it's anxiety and all that. All right, we're right here.
The difficulty of government is the vain knowledge of the people. Right. It's like the other verses were saying, like when people think they know. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
To use cleverness in government is to scourge the kingdom. That the cleverness is the guile, right? That was in the other verses, and the cunning. To use simplicity is to anoint it. See, we just talked about simplicity. Know these things and make them thy law and thine example. To possess this law is the secret perfection of rule. Profound and extended is this perfection. He that possesses he who possesses it is indeed contrary to the rest. Yeah, like we were saying, it's not common. I think Dwight Goddard said it's not common, but
Uh,
he attracts them to full accordance. And he said obedience, right? I think Dwight Goddard said obedience. Yeah, obedient subjects.
and here's another clue to when this might have been written. If it's not common, then it wasn't the golden age, right?
Say that again. Sorry.
If it's not common, right, then it's not the
Yes,
golden age.
clear. Exactly. That's why it's another clue as to what makes me wonder about when it was written or when it was added to, because some people say it was probably started out by Lao Tzu, if he ever existed, if he was really a person. And then some people say that, like, over time, sages would continue to like modify and add to it and like make it more, just give it more depth, more examples or something.
More relevance to and context to the times.
Perhaps.
Right. Great verse. Very simple. Shall we
Yeah.
go on to the next verse?
66. I've been seeing 66.
Execute verse 66.
Oh my God.
The Emperor. Do
Yeah.
it. Stephen Mitchell from 1988, verse 66. All streams flow to the sea because it is lower than they are. Humility gives it its power. If you want to govern the people, you must place yourself below them. If you want to lead the people, you must learn to follow them. The master is above the people, and no one feels oppressed. She goes ahead of the people, and no one feels manipulated. The whole world is grateful to her. Because she competes with no one, no one can compete with her.
Dwight Goddard, to subordinate self. But before that, I was going to just say shout out to 11 people in the chat.
Ah.
To subordinate self. The reason rivers and seas are called the kings of the valley is because they keep below them. Therefore, the wise man, desiring to be above his people, must in his demeanor keep below them. Wishing to benefit his people, he must ever keep himself out of sight. The wise man dwells above, yet the people do not feel the burden. He is the leader, and the people suffer no harm. Therefore, the world rejoices to exalt him and never wearies of him. I'm at the bottom, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was
Because
adjusting.
he will not quarrel with anyone and no one can quarrel with him.
Aha. I like it. All right. I won't say anything. Stan Rosenthal. Ooh, short and sweet, Stan. I like it. Leading from behind. The sea is the ruler of river and stream because it rules from well beneath.
Mm.
The teacher guides his students best by allowing them to lead. When the ruler is a sage, the people do not feel oppressed. They support the one who rules them well and never tire of him. He who is non competitive invites no competition.
Aleister Crowley calls us putting one's self last. Wow. Humility, right? That's what makes me think of.
Yeah.
The oceans and the rivers attract the streams by their skill in being lower than they. Thus are they masters thereof. So the wise man, to be above men, speaketh lowly, and to precede them acteth with humility. Thus, though he be above them, they feel no burden, nor though he precede them do they feel insulted. So then do all men delight to honor him, and grow not weary of him. He contendeth not against any man, therefore no man is able to contend against him. Love it.
Love it.
Great verse.
It feels like it goes with verse 65. It really
I
does.
know it does.
It's
Isn't that crazy that last time we only did one and then these two completely like go together?
yeah, it's really it just goes to show when you're going with the flow, because neither Sharon nor I are really trying to force or rush any of this. We're really, and I'm really proud of Sharon, because for me it's natural to just go with the flow, and Sharon's more of because of, we talk about personality types all the time and stuff. So she's really stepping out of her comfort zone, and it's great because, even when we talk about personality types, it doesn't mean it's like a sentence or like something that you're stuck doing. I think this life is about stepping out of your comfort zone and becoming the best version of yourself you could be, which is
It's
to,
just kind of a pattern, right? That
yeah,
you
it's
kind of want to hold on to.
exactly. And if you could break that pattern, step out of it, then as Sharon is doing with this. But anyway, so yeah, it's crazy, this synchronicity, how it flows like that. And this is just a good example of how the synchronicity is flowing in my life.
And
I mean, we
another
just,
example is how the numbers match. Like we're episode 135 and we're on our 35th commentary.
yeah, yeah, we didn't plan that. It just
Mm.
lined up.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, it might go out of sync later, but that's fine too.
Yeah, but just for this moment, right? It's all synced up.
And
I
version
we
66,
were
I mean,
watching a
verse
TV show.
66.
Yeah,
What?
in verse 66, and we are watching a show. I forget what it was, but they were talking about synchronicity. I'm like, it's everywhere now.
It's everywhere.
It's great. All right. So we're gonna break this down. How should we do, like two parts at a time, you think? Or
Sure, whatever you think.
all right. Okay, yeah, I think that works. All streams, so Stephen Mitchell from 1980, all streams flow to the sea because it is lower than they are. Humility gives it its power. This reminds me of being underestimated. Allow yourself to be underestimated. You don't have to prove yourself with words. Just
You don't
be,
have to prove yourself to anybody.
yeah, exactly.
I'm preaching to the choir, y'all, to
Yeah,
myself.
you're right. You don't have to prove yourself. And especially with words, just be the example. And I think that's what this verse is really talking about. The humility, that's kind of half of it, and then the other half is not lording over those who you have power over, who you rule, or who you're trying to help or whatever.
Yeah. Let's say you're like a manager at work or like a supervisor, right? Do you lord it over people or, do you lead by example? Are you micromanaging them or do you give them guidance and um, guidelines instead of rules, you know?
And I'm glad you said that, because to take it one step further, what about your self work? If you don't hold up to your own standards that you have for yourself because you're trying to be this enlightened being? Do you get mad at yourself? Do you feel like you're a victim? Get all pissed? Do you somehow harm yourself in a way, escapism or whatever? Do you cut yourself? No, whatever it is, like it's the same kind of thing. All right. So, if you want to govern the people, you must place yourself below them. If you want to lead the people, you must learn how to follow them. Here's some more contradictions,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
uh I would say with the people, if you want the lead, you must follow. It's really just about going with the flow and what's best, not what's best for you as a leader, but what's best for the whole country, I guess. And then if you're looking at self-work, you could say not what's best for your ego, but what's best for your higher self, I guess. Like maybe pleasuring that sense, eating that whatever you want, or having that affair that you
Ice
shouldn't,
cream.
whatever it
I'm
is,
kidding.
or the ice cream. That's great. Having that affair with ice cream, that affair with Ben and Jerry. You're having a threesome with the ice cream. Um, uh, what was I? That was so
I'm
funny. I
sorry.
lost my whole train of
I'm
thought. It's all
sorry.
right. No, no, don't be. That was great. Are you kidding me? I'm just gonna look back at it. To follow them. Yeah. So, um, self work, right? Oh, yeah, yeah. So what's best for your higher self? That's what I was saying. So what's best for your higher self is to maybe to ignore that uh sense pleasure or whatever it is, or abstain, or you get it, guys.
Yeah. But if you don't get mad at yourself
Exactly. If you have that
because
affair with Ben and Jerry's and you get that milkshake, it's fine.
you gotta do things till they're done, until
Yeah,
you're done.
it's
It almost became a song, you know?
it's yeah. Do it till you're done. It should. All right. You want to do the Dwight
I
Goddard?
mean, sometimes it takes years, right? But let's see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then sometimes you just have a overnight epiphany and you're like, whoa, and you don't even want to do it anymore. So
Dude, I just looked at your face in the thing and you reminded me of Alan Watts. You're looking down.
when did he die? Was I?
I mean, your face, you just you look like Alan Watts
I'm
from a
embodying.
distance. Huh?
I'm embodying my inner Alan Watts. I did.
Yes, you
Well, I
are.
did do a little. I trimmed it a little on the sides a
Oh,
little because it was
okay.
gonna and I cleared this out a little. Yeah, it's getting a little
Yeah,
crazy.
you're becoming Alan Watts.
I'm coming out of the hermit shell, perhaps.
Maybe.
Because when I hermit, I just let it all grow. I'm like, I'm a wild man on the mountain, even though I'm DJing your party. Hi.
Hermit Wildman.
I just climbed down off this mountain to DJ your wedding. How you doing?
Hmm.
All right. You want
All
to
right,
do the
Dwight Goddard. We'll read the first half. To subordinate self. See, we were talking about the self.
mm-hmm,
The reason rivers and seas are called the kings of the valley is because they keep below them.
mm-hmm.
Huh? Below what?
Oh, the
Below the valley?
kings of the valley. Yes, yep. Yeah, because they're lower. Because the river is always the bottom point of any area,
Yeah,
generally.
because that's the flow of the water,
Yeah, the
right?
water always finds the lowest point usually.
Mhm.
Yeah. So be like
Uh,
water, right? And it says that earlier in the Tao, be like water.
Yeah, find the
Learn
lowest point.
to treasure the lower places that other men disdain or whatever.
Yeah. So, therefore, the wise man desiring to be above his people must in his demeanor keep below them. Wishing to benefit his people, he must ever keep himself out of sight. Yeah, I mean, think of the hermits and the and the gurus who live in these Tibetan, monasteries and stuff, you know? they're not necessarily out in the cities and chilling with people
And
necessarily, right?
and then think of Donald Trump, like he wants all the attention on him, right? So the attention doesn't go to the people. A lot of these rulers, they were flamboyant and stuff. They want all this attention, or what's the word that it used?
I don't know how to do his dance.
Yeah, wishing to benefit his people, he must ever keep just out of sight. So it's like out of sight, he doesn't need that attention, right? Or
Yeah.
whoever he or she, the correct
Out of
ruler.
sight, out of mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the, exactly. So all right. And
You gonna do the next?
and you could look at
Okay.
that too for the ego as far as I'll go on to the next
Oh no, we don't have to.
self-work, right?
But it's a good
Right.
point. The ego.
Keep the
Go.
ego out of sight. Why do you need the attention of whatever it is? It's like,
Right.
just ego,
Right.
right? And again,
I
we're not
am.
we're not beating ourselves up.
I have to
Yeah.
do that sometimes because like I notice when I'm in groups sometimes, even just like when Cody's sister was here and we were just with like we hung out with some of my couple of my siblings and sometimes I would say something and no one would like listen to me. Like and I would say it like two, three times and then I was just like, screw it. I'm
And then
just
someone else says it, and everyone's like, "Wow, what a great idea!"
and that didn't happen, but
No,
yeah,
I know
no one
that's
no one heard what I said. And I was like, you know what? Whatever.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
in those moments I just want to like open my Kindle on my phone and read.
yeah. And it's interesting as an extrovert because that's how you kind of get your energy and
Well,
express
I was thinking
things.
about this today because ENTJs are different beasts.
Yeah, that's
They
true too.
they the extroversion is for thinking. It's
Uh,
extroverted thinking. So it doesn't have to do with people.
oh, I see. So it's in a way that you think.
Hmm.
Gotcha.
So in many ways, ENTJs can feel like introverts.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, especially with the hermiting thing too.
Yeah.
But as you'll see things from the point of view as of a group or as the whole kind of thing, or like what benefits the group.
I'm trying to think of how it works again. Like I gather lots of ideas from lots of different like I
Okay.
gather
Yes,
lots
yes,
of
yes.
things from lots of different people, places, books, whatever.
Yes, it's all coming back to me now.
Yeah, we
It's like
need
an
to
old program running in the back of my head, like why? Like get out, all right, access to MTBI or whatever, or
yeah, MTBI, MBTI.
MBTI. And
Yeah, we need that's why we need to do another a refresher on the MBTI probably to add to our series again.
yeah, that's
We we uh we fell off the wagon on that one and I was thinking about the law of one too. We fell off the wagon on that one too. But it's
yeah.
okay.
Oh
It all
yeah, it's
happens
great.
for a reason.
Well, obviously, because we're at 135 and number 35 of the Dow, so there's a reason that we got to plow through the Dow,
Plow through the Dow.
plow through the Dow, eating bow. All right, Stan Rosenthal from 1984, leading from behind. The sea is the ruler of river and stream because it rules from well beneath. So, if you think about it in this context, all the water ends up in the sea.
In
So,
the
at the end of the
sea.
day, haha, there you go. Take a shot, everybody. At the end of the day, the ocean is the ruler because it knows. And, that's a good attitude to have. It's like the tortoise. The tortoise knows in the end it's going to win. It's going to get there because it's steady. The ocean knows in the end all the water is going to come to it. So the ocean doesn't have to like have a campaign and say, hey, vote for me. I'm the ocean. I'm great. I'm going to rule over you, water. Oh, it doesn't have to like give out uh, like subsidies and stuff so the water in the mountains melts and comes down. It just happens naturally and it knows that
Like you
it's
all owe me your allegiance.
yeah, it doesn't have to collect taxes and stuff like that, right? It's that same kind of idea. It knows that it rules because it's the largest body of water and it has confidence in that everything's going to work.
Yeah.
All right. Just looking
There
in
you
the
go.
chat. Wow. Yeah. Uh, I'm just looking in the chat. Okay. Go back to the Oh, where was I part? The second part of this first part. The teacher guides the students best by allowing them to lead. And same kind of thing. And you can even think of like maybe homeschooling where you go in a direction that,
I
uh,
was thinking of Montessori as well.
yeah, something like that. Or you think about like Bashar, he talks about going in the area of your most excitement. So it'd be the same thing. You allow your students to go where they're more excited. You're
Yeah,
not like up there like, I'm this teacher who knows these things and I learn them. So you got to learn them. And I want to show you how much knowledge and how awesome I am.
and everybody shut up and don't speak for the next hour because I'm just going to lecture you. Now, how does that feel? Does anybody like that? I don't
Like
think anybody
jail.
likes that.
I'd rather, oh, all right, I'm not going to make claims.
Hmm?
It probably could be argued that some parts of jail were better than school because you could just, you know, be in a corner by yourself.
Hermit.
Depending on the jail you're in, I guess some of them are.
Yeah.
I've heard bad things.
You're a little
Anyways,
quiet, I feel, on the mic.
huh?
I said you're a little quiet on the mic.
Oh, all right. Is that any better?
Yeah.
Okay. I was all over the place. Let me keep my neck straight. Protect my goddamn neck. It's a Wu-Tang thing. All right. So yeah, so I think that is pretty much like the other ones. I just wanted to say that, like you said, the Montessori.
Yeah. And I said something about like being lectured at. Nobody likes that. But like, I mean, I'm not talking about necessarily things like Ram Dass when he has because he's good at what he does. And when he did his lecture, I don't know what he called them, like lectures, classes, whatever. Um, but you listen to them, like I listen to them now, and I'm just like, these are great. I like listening to them. But at the same time, sitting for like an hour listening to that, maybe at some point you might start, you know, getting distracted or losing track. And so, um, but anyway, yeah, I just thought
Yeah.
I'd
Plus
say
those
that.
people, well, I don't know if they're, but they weren't forced. Like a school, you're kind of forced to
Yeah,
be there, especially as a child. You don't have
yeah.
much of a choice.
If it's like a conference or something, you want to go usually, unless it's something for work,
Yep.
and then you're told to go.
Yeah.
All right, I'll read Aleister Crowley's first half of verse 66, called Putting One's Self Last. Again, that's humility, I think. The oceans and the rivers attract the streams by their skill in being lower than they. We already talked about this, but he puts it very poetically. Thus are they masters thereof. So the
Mhm.
wise man, to be above men, speaketh lowly, and to precede them acts with humility. So the wise man, to be above men, speaks lowly, and to precede them acts with humility.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the clearest verses we're getting from Alistair so far. Maybe it's because we read the first three, and that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons we do four because we get so much context.
Yeah.
The only thing I could really say is maybe to break down would be when he says speak lowly. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the way I see that is just like, you're just not like, oh, I'm the best and I know all these things. Like, no, you're speaking to somebody at their level.
Kind of like
Um,
this show.
yeah, exactly. All right, we're
We're
breaking
not
these
trying
things
to be
down and
eloquent.
yeah, and everyday simple. And I'm like being silly. We're just trying to get this message across in the best way we know how.
Yeah, I mean, I need to speak like this because it's how it would make sense to me.
Totally. Totally.
Tortoise?
Tortellini. Oh, sorry.
Tortellini. I like tortellini,
Mm.
but I
Mm.
like raviolis too.
Mm. Hungry now. The master is above the people and no one feels oppressed. Another conundrum, but it's just saying that you listen, the master has a light touch. He could be above the people, but nobody has to feel oppressed. And the other thing is too, you could just think about this in the context of consciousness. Maybe the master is a little more elevated, a little more up the scale on Dr. David R. Hawkins' scale of consciousness, something like that. But it doesn't mean it has to oppress them, right? It's just not above them egoically, and I got a Mercedes and I make, all this money and I'm going to tell you what to do. And no, it's not that.
Yeah. Again, like you said, he's probably on the scale of consciousness, he's higher than his students or than the people.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, they're not going to feel oppressed because someone with that higher level of consciousness isn't going to be forcing themselves on anybody.
Exactly. Oh, she goes ahead of the people and no one feels manipulated.
Mm,
The whole world is grateful for her
to
and
her or
grateful to
either way.
her. And
Either way.
it really is, this is the second part. So this is just a reflection of what happens when you govern like this. And same thing internally. We talk about self-work if you're going to use that lens on the government angle. You don't feel like you're manipulating yourself anymore. You're just going with the flow. You're just living. You're just being. Um, like it was saying before, you're not tricking or contriving. And there's a part of you that realizes it when you are doing that and is suffering. And now that
Mm,
suffering is alleviated because you're living more in accordance with nature. All right.
yes.
Because she competes with no one, no one can compete with
I
her.
love that. Didn't we have a competition verse? Was it last time?
It was I don't know. I know
I
we
think
did
it
have,
was something like that.
maybe it was last time, but and there was another verse that reminds me of this. They might not have said competition, but it was kind of like, it'll come back to me. But I do love this concept. And really, people can still try to compete with you if you're not competing, but you don't feel it internally is really what it's about. It's like when I go play
Right.
poker now, as opposed to before I started getting into all this crazy spirituality stuff. When I go play now, I don't take it as personally, and it's if somebody wins or whatever it is, it's just a whole different thing. I'm more grateful. I'm just happy to get a chance to go play.
Yeah, I was playing pool with Cody and Cody's sister in up in Flagstaff because we stopped at this like place called Uptown and there was just like a handful of like I don't know 6 pool tables maybe something like that and we were playing what is it called a 3-person game where you like try to shoot everyone else's balls out of the game and keep your own.
Yeah, I can't remember
Cutthroat.
the
Is it
name of it.
called Cutthroat
Oh,
or something?
Cutthroat. Yeah, yeah, I've heard of that. Or
Something like
Cutthroat's
that.
another way
Or
to play too.
something. It's something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but um I
You're
was
such a pool shark. You're like, I don't know what it's called, but if you want to play, I'll play for money. No, I'm just kidding. All of a
well,
sudden, Sharon's like
I didn't know
running
that
the table. You're like, geez, no, I'm just
I
kidding.
didn't know that Cody and Jenna used to play like back in the day. And funny
Oh,
things I used to when I was in college also. I
oh,
wasn't like I wouldn't say I was fantastic, but
I used to play a
um
little.
you too. But yeah, I found myself like not worrying like about like who was gonna win or what. Like I was just like I wanted them to win. I was like at the same time I was like, yeah, I want to shoot some and like actually make some balls into the pockets too. But um if I ever felt like, oh man, I only have like one ball out there, I was like, you know what? Who cares? What? Like let someone else win. I don't have to win. What is this? A competition?
Yeah, you just wanted to have fun. It sounds like, right? You just
Yeah.
want everyone to have fun. So yeah, that's kind of how I am too with things now. Especially being a giant. It's like I already won that race. No, I'm already a giant and beautiful and have this voice. Like I don't know what I'll let them. They got to get some. You can win chess today.
I look like Alan Watts.
I already look like Alan. I'm already. People are already worshiping the future. I gotta like beg them to not. It's like they're building giant statues to us, and we're just like, what are you guys doing? You got it all wrong. You were so close.
We told you not to put us on a pedestal. Dwight Goddard? All right, he calls us to, oh, yeah, to subordinate self. But anyway, we're on the second half. Thanks, Brandon, because I was like, I forgot for a moment. For a moment.
That always happens to me.
The wise man dwells above, yet the people do not feel the burden. He is the leader, and the people suffer no harm. Therefore, the world rejoices to exalt him and never wearies of him. I mean, it's very similar to what Stephen Mitchell said.
Yeah.
Very similar.
For the world. Yeah.
And so the next part says, because he will not quarrel with anyone, no one can quarrel with him. Well, there you go. That's another way to put it, you know. Competition, could that also be like quarreling, like having an argument or a discussion? I must win, right? Competition is basically I must win, right? Well, argument can also be that way, like, no, I'm right, you're wrong, right? Well, could it all be just perspective, and you're right for you and I'm right for me, you know? And I'm not going to try to force you to be doing what I do because that's what I do for me. Right.
Exactly. Sounds like religion.
So, yeah. And so, like, if my point of view, if I don't like push it out there on someone because I'm not quarreling, then no one can quarrel with me.
It
I
reminds
mean,
me of the meme of the spiritual guy where he's like, secret to happiness is just agree with assholes. And the guy's like, that's stupid. And he's like, I agree. It's like, you
I
can't,
I'm reminded of that sometimes. But it's hard for me. It's hard.
yeah, it's part of the work here. It is.
Yeah.
It really is. Cause you're like, I can see it so clearly. Why can't they see it? If I just say the right if I just make the right combinations of noises with my
Mm.
face. Speaking of Joe Rogan, he used
Somebody
to
will get it. No,
stuff
not
they'll get it.
necessarily.
It's like, but they got to go through those things that you went through to feel it and then to see it. It's just like
Right. Their
uh
own version of those things.
when you're trying to tell somebody what to do,
Yeah,
it's like no, they
exactly.
gotta experience it, right?
And it's like, okay, so let's say here, because this happens to me, because he will not quarrel with anyone, no one can quarrel with him. But let's say I don't want to quarrel, right? But somebody wants to quarrel with me, even if I say, like, I don't have an opinion on it or I don't care about, how dare you not have an opinion? How can you not? And then that gets to me. Like, yeah, I got something to work on.
Yeah, well, there you go. Good though, it's good. At least you know that, and that's what you're conscious of, and that's how you're framing it. Like great, I get it. Yeah, that's the hard one. All right. When the ruler is a sage, the people do not feel oppressed. Right? That's pretty self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm.
They support the one who rules them well and never tire of him or her. Same thing with the inner work. If you could be a sage, and the Tao has been talking about the behavior of a sage for about 65 verses now. So 65 and a half. Um, he who is non-competitive invites no competition. So yeah.
Great way to put it too. Another
And
great way.
that's the other thing too, is if you don't like when people are competing and they win, not all the time, but like the unhealthy, whatever, however you say it, but like they want to see, they want your tears. They're like, yeah, I want him or her to be upset. And yeah, so if you're just like, oh, whatever, that's cool, we had fun, it kind of takes all that energy. You're taking away, there's a polarization there, and you're just not being the other pole. So that
It might make them
can't
a
be.
little upset anyway, but
Oh yeah, but it definitely
it won't, like, if you're not upset about it is what it's what matters.
it doesn't complete that circuit. And if you think about like energy vampires, it's a way for
Mm,
people to get energy from you and your attention. it doesn't complete that circuit, right? You're just like, okay, this is great.
Right. Absolutely.
Those dark energy fires. Right,
Aleister
Alistair.
Crowley, the second half of verse 66 says, thus, though he be above them, they feel no burden, nor though he precede them, do they feel insulted. Mm. So
Mm,
then do all men delight to honor him and grow not weary of him. Basically saying the same thing in
yeah.
different words. He uses
Yeah.
the word burden and insulted, which I don't think was used in other um, verses. And yeah, I mean, pretty self explanatory there. And then the
And I like
last,
the use of the word insult too, because
yes,
people, like say you got this brand new
offense,
diet or
feel,
whatever. I don't, when you're like proud of different things that you're doing, if people aren't also doing them, they might feel they'll take it personally and they feel like
yeah,
you're kind of slighting them. So when
it's
you're
an
just neutral
offense,
on the subject and balance and kind of,
Mike, you're getting too far away from it.
oh, okay. I'm also, my voice is trailing off.
Yeah.
Let's see, hang on. If I get that thought back.
Feeling
Insult.
insulted or
Yeah,
feeling
people
offended.
feel, go ahead.
No, that's all. Good.
People feel insulted though. Yeah, they when they perceive that you think you're better than them is really what it is. So it's about just having humility, really, and just being like not egoic, really.
Yeah. And I must say that in my experience, though I'm not trying to sound like I'm better or I know better or anything. I can be taken that way. So there's something still that I need to do better um to not give that impression because I'll still get that, like why do you think you know better than me or you know, yeah.
I know I hear exactly what you're saying, and even sometimes you could be out to eat with somebody and they're like, oh, you want, I'm like, I don't really feel like eating that, and they're like, and it starts that whole thing. So
Yeah.
what I found that helps for me though is to try to just say things before, like, oh yeah, diet, every, like, say we're talking about diet, something would be like, oh, I feel like everyone's different and I've tried different things, and this is kind of what works for me. But so things like that where I'm not so certain in what I'm saying
Yeah.
and not making claims. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but I'm just saying this is kind of what has helped me. But you're right though, because just like, say if you don't want bread that day, and then you're like,
Yeah.
I explain why you're not eating bread at dinner. And then
Yeah.
everyone that
And just
is
say
eating
just what
bread feels bad about it because now they're eating the bread, the evil bread, they're eating it and you're not. So sometimes I just eat bread so everyone else chills the fuck out. Like if you see me eating, like people are like, oh, I thought you didn't eat bread. It's like, no, I'm eating bread so you chill
you're
the
doing
fuck
the
out.
rum dos thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I really feel like food and all these things, there really is no certain answer for me.
Yeah.
I just kind of go with the flow and what works.
They're just tools for this life experience to teach us
Yeah, we just don't get
how to
hung up
go
on
with the flow.
it, right? And that's, I think, sometimes when you're talking about things like that, people can hear it. And I've my own experience, especially with diet. Now I just don't have the attachment. So you could probably hear that I don't care anymore. I'm just like, whatever, like, all right.
You're can you move the mic a little bit closer to you or is
Yeah,
it's
I
not
I could
movable?
too. I'm also just kind of like fading out with my
Yeah. Um
I'm
yeah,
trailing off is what I meant to say. Go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, I get it. Um I knew what you meant. But yeah, the whole like the food thing. Um I was thinking about that today, especially for some reason. I was just thinking about like because I was thinking about this place that we went to eat at in Jerome. It was really good food. Um, but Jenna's vegetarian. She's not vegan, but she's vegetarian. But I just thought to because she didn't get the tomato soup because it had um chicken stock in it. So I just thought to myself, like, for people who are vegan, they probably would be so upset, like, how dare you make a tomato soup that's a vegetable, quote vegetable. It's probably a fruit with with the meat, with something that's made of meat or whatever. And no, absolutely no judgment upon anybody. It's just like we all have these kinds of thoughts, like where we're just like, oh, I'm not drinking the water here because it's tap. That's me. Okay. So that's my thing.
Yeah, and then people are like, why aren't you drinking the water? And then they feel bad about drinking their water. And now it's like, well, now I guess I got to drink the water. It's like Buddha, right? He ate the food that knew was going to kill him, but somebody prepared it for him. And he's like, I got to eat it. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to derail
Oh
you.
no, that's fine. But it's like we play all these mental gymnastic games. And it's like, you know, it's like, does it matter? Does it really matter?
That's really what it is. I feel like it's an egoic thing when we're not when we're putting ourselves first. We want the ultimate optimal conditions for everything to go right. We don't want chicken in the chicken stock in our vegan tomato or whatever it is. And if one little thing goes, then all this outrage we have built up just gets spilt out, and whoever's around, they're the ones who take the brunt of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And she didn't complain necessarily or anything.
Oh
She
yeah,
just
no, I'm not.
she just
She's great.
decided
Yeah,
not. I'm
she
just
was.
saying I don't want people
Yeah,
to think I'm like
yeah, me
speaking
too. I don't
ill.
want because I like
Um,
her. She's great.
because I'm not. I was just thinking to myself of all the things that we as people do, to ourselves. Like, oh, this has this in it or this has that in it. I do it all the time.
And
So
you
it's
were talking
just
about vegans also, yeah, because I could see that
yeah,
exactly.
because that's really like to be vegan is really, really hard.
Yeah,
It's like if you're gonna eat out, it's really hard. So I can imagine them going to that place and going, how dare you put, you called it tomato soup or whatever. It's like you put chicken stock in it. I'm just thinking out loud. So, but anyway.
no, I hear you. It's the outrage Olympics out there, and we're all right.
But again, to each his own, right? If it works for you and that's how you're doing it, do it. Like I'm not even knocking it. It's like we're all where we're at.
Exactly. Were you on the last part, or did you
I
already
think
read
that's
it?
the last bit. So he can thank you. He contendeth not against any man, therefore no man I he contends not against any man, therefore no man is able to contend against him. That's basically, the same thing. Competition. What did the other guys say? Quarreling,
Mm-hmm.
arguments, fighting, discussions, disagreements. Maybe disagreements, not discussions.
Oh yeah, Spoons is agreeing with us in the chat too about wanting things our way, and getting hung up on little things like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a great way to alleviate suffering. It really is. I'll see people doing stuff like that, and it doesn't even bother me. I'm like, I'm not annoyed, but you're beating yourself up over here. What are you doing?
Yeah. I just did them, I was just doing some thought experiments on like if I were vegan, what would I be upset about?
Oh yeah, yeah. We're not picking on vegans specifically. Diet's an easy one to use
Oh,
as a
absolutely.
allegory or example.
Because I've
So
done it. I've done all the diet. I mean, I wouldn't say all of them, but I've done a lot of diets, where
yeah. Oh yeah. It's all just light.
it's all light.
And I
We're
get the
all
whole
light.
vegan point of view where, there is some terrible animal suffering going on. So, it's
Right.
just how
And like,
compassion.
and the thing is though, like if that's your conviction, that's yours. Like who who's to say that I mean, it's not everybody's. It's your own conviction. Not
Yeah.
everybody's where you are.
And
And
you
you
were,
may change. You may change your mind. You may not. But
yeah.
um It's not for you to force it on someone else. Because I was also thinking, and I'll let you finish. Sorry, I just wanted to say,
Oh, go ahead.
as I was thinking about that, I was also thinking about people who get condemned for like forcing, if they're vegan or vegetarian, like forcing their children to be that way, forcing, right? And I just thought to myself, well, like, what would I do? Like, I guess like that's the thing, is like that's the hard question. Like when you're a parent, like you're going to try to do what you do, right? So I'd be like, okay, we're going to make sure that our foods don't have all these wacky ingredients in them. We're going to make sure the water's not tap. We're going to make, all these things, right? But then they're going to feel like trapped by it too. It's kind of like church. Like you have to eat this way, or you have to go to this church and you have to believe just like this or else. And it's like, but don't I inherently believe that I'm just light and I'm just energy and motion? So does it matter? You know what I mean?
So can I exist on sunlight and one Diet Coke a day or
Yeah.
Big Macs?
And a McDonald's hamburger.
Yeah, that's a deep cut for over Sharonites.
Mm,
Amazing. Well, another great episode. Thanks everybody who was hanging out in the chat. Shout out Spoons, Kathleen, MS, me. What's it? Mihal, Mihal,
Mihal, yeah.
Mihal. Cody was in here earlier. QSB, Blue, Kachina. We had up to 11 people, so I'm gonna
I
check.
see 8, and I see 811. I saw it today this morning, 811.
Ooh, little shorter one this time. Look
Yeah.
at that. We did 2 and we're just about an
Under
hour
2.
46 minutes. So we're
Yeah.
under 2 hours. Pretty cool. Well, I hope you guys really enjoy this. Thank you guys. You know, the best way to support us, again, as I say every week, is to shave your head and join our cult.
The
Um,
Oversharonites.
when I was watching that last week, I was watching the because it was the end. I was watching with Elizabeth, and I forgot I had done that, and she like was cracking up laughing because I always ended the same way, and I said that differently, and it was just so deadpan, I guess. So,
I forgot what you said last time. Oh
I
yeah.
was like, I'm gonna switch it up. I'm like, if you want to support us, this, like the best way to support us is to shave your head and join our cult.
And join the best pyramid scheme ever.
The best pyramid scheme on the internet. That's right. We have the best pyramid scheme. This pyramid, right here is a pyramid. The best pyramid scheme ever is to just not be a victim or live the
I like it.
oversharing show tenets and be an example for the world. And as you are, you'll be that shining pyramid and you'll get other pyramids under you. But you can go to morelawsmoreproblems.com to donate to the show. There's several ways, and you can find our show there also through on podcast form. We put it on Podbean, so any Spotify, iTunes, or wherever they're putting podcasts out these days, you can get it there. And make sure you like, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff. And also, I haven't done this a lot recently, but I do readings too. So if you'd like a tarot reading or something, or whatever, hit me up, let me know. And I don't know. Anything else, Sharon?
Um, you finished what you were gonna say, right? I didn't cut you off earlier.
Oh, about the what were we talking about? I think I had something simple to add. Maybe it was in the words.
I forgot.
Confronting. Insulted. Huh.
Oh, the vegans and the vegetarians and children and
Yes. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say we weren't disparaging anybody or even vegans. We were just saying if you are a vegan, we're just trying to help you not be a victim. That's all, right? Because that is exactly true. It's a good example. So anyway. All right. Well, looks like we could stick a fork in this one. What do we say to the good people, Sharon?
and once you start over, Sharon,
Then you totally stop being a Karen.
that's
And
right.
I think Dane Cook started that, by the way, because we were listening to some like old Dane Cook skits and he started talking about Karens. It was hilarious.
Oh, funny.
Or somebody named Karen. He's like, yeah, she's probably named Karen. And fucking yeah.
That's funny as hell.
And remember everybody,
Sharon is Karen.
yeah, Karen. We love Karens. We're just kidding everybody. And remember, everybody, we're not trying to tell you how to live your life.
Well, we're just trying to help you and give you tips on how not to be a victim and join the best pyramid scheme ever.
That's right. All right, everybody. Until next week, have a good one. We'll see you later. Thank you guys so much again in the chat. Peace out,
Ciao.
Cub Scouts. We'll see you later. And I have to hit the right button. There it is. All right, bye. Everyone have a great weekend. Until next week. Keep oversharing. Later.